had a raid yesterday in Massachusetts, and let me tell you, this was the fucking I've ever seen in my entire life. ICE comes to the front door of this Brazilian descent family of Brazilian descent. So they get there, and when they're asked, hey, where's your warrant? They refuse to acknowledge. They're just like, whatever, we need to go in. You know, doing their ICE shit. Apparently, things start getting out of whack because the neighbors come out and they form a ring around the ICE officer so they can't get out. So they're like, hey, let's call the police because we need, you know, there's some peace. There's ICE officers who don't have a warrant. Things are going to get bad. Oh, they got worse than bad when the police got there. At some point, the girl I showed you guys in the video actually ends up running. They tackled her. And she, they put her head to the ground. She's 16, by the way. They grabbed the little girl in the sweater vest. They end up detaining this 16-year-old girl, her mom, another relative, and their newborn baby. And because this girl was holding her newborn baby and was running away from the cops, and I guess she stepped in front of the cop car, they're charging her for child endangerment. What about ICE? They're protecting their names because you guys know how dangerous it would be for these agents if their names got out. But they also still haven't released what charges this family had as what reasons they needed to be deported.
That was an ICE raid that took place in Massachusetts on Thursday. Neighbors were trying to stop these agents from detaining a mother who was with two young children, including a newborn baby. Those screams that you heard in that video are of family members, friends, loved ones watching their lives and their family get ripped apart right in front of them simply because Donald Trump has a vendetta against people who don't look like him or don't speak like him or don't pray like him or don't love like him. And let me just be 100% honest. No BS, because I'm sick of people being nice about this stuff. If you watched that video and you smiled and you laughed and you were happy and you think that this is a good thing, you are a bad person. Your morals are bad, and Donald Trump is a horrible human being for doing this to people. Plain and simple.
Across the United States, particularly in states like Massachusetts, disturbing incidents involving ICE, immigration and custom enforcement are being reported with increasing frequency and severity. These are not internet rumors or fringe claims. They are real documented cases from neighbors, families, eyewitnesses, and even video footage. What is being described, and in many cases clearly seen, is nothing short of a blatant disregard for the rule of law by the very agency meant to uphold it. Consider a scenario. A woman sits in her car with her children. Everything is calm, ordinary. Suddenly, agents appear and start smashing her car window with a hammer. No announcement, no explanation, no display of a warrant. She asks legally and calmly to see a warrant, a right she has under the US Constitution. But instead of responding with documentation, these agents escalate. Her mother is arrested. Her children are screaming and no one is held accountable. This isn't a dystopian drama. This is real life in America today. In multiple accounts from across Massachusetts and other states, ICE agents are accused of consistently refusing to present warrants before making arrests. Video have shown agents aggressively approaching vehicles, breaking windows, forcefully removing individuals, and traumatizing children in the process. This is not how law enforcement is supposed to function. This is not due process. This is not justice. This is intimidation. It's a calculated use of force and fear to silence and subjugate, especially targeting vulnerable communities.
Hi. Many of you know me from the video that I posted a couple of days ago that has taken off. It's got almost 300,000 views on it. This is regarding the woman in Massachusetts that was literally dragged onto the ground. Yes, because she's not supposed to be here. She's illegal. Okay? But folks, she's not a fucking animal. And the way that you guys are treating her, yeah, you look like racist bigots. You do. And it's not a good look. The reason why I'm making this follow-up video is because of the comments. Yeah, it's just as bad in the comments as it is elsewhere. Because MAGA, oh, you guys are proud of this. You're proud of it. Well, let me tell you something, you sorry-ass son of a bitch. Yes, each and every one of you. Just because you grew up in an unloved family does not mean that you get to grow up and treat other people the way no one should ever be treated. You guys are scum. You need help. You need help. Not only are you in a cult, You also are in a psychological coma. Something's wrong with you. Seriously. These people came over here and did jobs that our own lazy ass Americans would never get up and do. And they did it for less money than what we'd ever agree to be paid for. And to the Republicans at that time, that was just fine because you had cheap labor. Oh, you were picking them up at the gas stations and everything to get the cheap labor. What was it, $3 or $4 an hour for them to go dig a ditch? Yeah. You guys aren't going to talk about that, are you, MAGA? The majority of the Americans do support you. We do support you. Yes, we do agree that there needs to be some type of paperwork or something put into play. We need to know who's here. Okay, and you understand that. But you're not to be treated like you're animals. I'm sorry. It's like a bad horror film for you guys, and I totally get it.
I don't even know what to say anymore. Another day, another round of bullshit from this administration. ICE just raided the home of American citizens in Oklahoma City. They had these people outside in the rain, children in their underwear outside in the rain. Marissa and her three daughters, all U.S. citizens, were, my God, I don't even know how I'm gonna get through this. Had their home raided while they were sleeping, were taken outside. Daughter left in her underwear because ICE would not let her get her clothes on. These are American citizens, MAGA. They stood outside begging for ICE to listen to them, and ICE didn't. They didn't even get a fucking apology. They didn't even get an apology. I can't. And ICE took everything, phones, laptops, cash, their personal savings, and they couldn't even be bothered to make sure they got the right house. And MAGA, if you think this can't happen to you, you are sadly mistaken. This is what ICE is doing to US citizens, and if this doesn't outrage you, then I don't even know what to say to you anymore.
In one incident in Worcester, over 25 residents surrounded ICE officers demanding they show a warrant before making an arrest. Despite this show of public accountability, the officers allegedly still refused to comply. In another horrifying event, a woman requested to see a warrant when ICE approached her vehicle. Rather than respecting her legal right to see the documentation, the agents reportedly smashed her window and arrested her on the spot. These kinds of actions show a complete breakdown in protocol, law, and basic decency. But beyond the legal failures, what's truly heartbreaking is the human cost. Families are being torn apart, children are witnessing their parents being violently arrested without understanding why. Mothers are taken away while their children are left behind, clutching younger siblings and crying in confusion and fear. These children may carry that trauma for the rest of their lives. The agents executing these raids are not simply enforcing laws. They are creating lifelong psychological scars. There are also cases where mistaken identity, like in New Bedford, where ICE detained a man and repeatedly called him by the wrong name. He was not the individual they were looking for. This speaks to a terrifying lack of care in their operations. If they can't even correctly identify their target, how many innocent people are being swept up in these raids? How many families are being destroyed due to poor information or no verification process at all? And when communities rise up in protest, hoping to stand against what they see as clear abuse of power, they are met with further resistance.
Breaking news, last night around 3 in the morning, a family in Bakersfield, California was raided by ICE. Not because they were criminals, not because they were a threat, but because this government under Donald Trump has decided that families, real human beings, are collateral damage in the name of immigration enforcement. The man they took, a father of 3, no criminal record, he had a temporary protection status, he had been going to all of his immigration check-ins, he was doing everything right. But ICE agents still stormed into his home while his wife and kids were sleeping. They shattered the front door. They came in with rifles and tactical gear. His children, small children, watched him get dragged away in handcuffs while they screamed for their dad. Imagine that. Imagine your own kids being woken up by shouting, by boots slamming the floor, by the sound of fathers being taken. What kind of trauma does that leave behind? This isn't just policy. This is cruelty. When fear was the point, when ICE had permission to terrorize families in the middle of the night, when people trying to build a life here were treated like fugitives. Let's be really clear. This man had legal protection. He wasn't hiding, he wasn't dangerous, he was a father, a husband, and a worker. His only crime was trying to stay here and raise his kids. Now his wife is left alone trying to comfort children who don't understand why their daddy is gone or if he's ever going to come back. I know this story won't trend like celebrity gossip or sports, but it matters because what happened to his family could happen to thousands more.
My work closed early tonight because ICE raided Broadway in Nashville. They went into the bars, specifically the kitchens of the bars, and they racially profiled a lot of the workers in there, detained them illegally, searched a lot of these places without warrants. Now, a lot of the workers who are dragged away from their jobs are being detained indefinitely until they can prove their citizenship. There's no telling how long they'll be detained. It could be 2 days, it could be 2 months. But a lot of very hardworking people, mothers, fathers, people supporting their families, went to work tonight and don't know when they're going to be going home or dragged away in the middle of doing their jobs. Like, it's extremely important to talk about the fact that this is happening all over the United States. This is what your tax money is being spent on, and more importantly, it's being spent illegally. So yeah, this is real, it's happening, it's tearing families apart, it's ruining lives, it's illegal, and we're only 5 months in.
In some instances, local police have declared these peaceful protests unlawful assemblies. So instead of standing with the people and ensuring justice is done, local enforcement agencies are choosing to suppress voices demanding accountability. What kind of democracy silences those who call for the protection of constitutional rights? This is no longer just about immigration policy. This is about unchecked power. It's about the dangerous precedent being set when government agencies operate outside of the law and without oversight. When an officer can approach someone's home, vehicle, or workplace without proper legal authorization and still make an arrest, that is not law enforcement. That is authoritarianism. And this matters to everyone, not just immigrants, because when legal norms are violated without consequences, when constitution is disregarded by those sworn to uphold it, we all lose. What's happening today to one group can easily happen tomorrow to another. If due process is stripped away for some, it weakens the protection for all. Moreover, there is an alarming normalization of violence and chaos. ICE agents using hammers to break windows, dragging people out of vehicles, and traumatizing children, these are not isolated actions. These are part of a broader systemic pattern, and with the little to no accountability, these patterns are becoming accepted by those in power as routine. Imagine a society where law enforcement agencies can target you without explanation, without a warrant, and without the need to prove they've got the right person. Imagine being unable to protect your children from the sight of you being forcefully arrested, unable to explain to them why officers with badges and guns are breaking your windows and shouting orders. That's not security, that's fear-based control. And let's not forget, many of the people affected by these actions have lived in the US for years. They are part of the community. They work, they pay taxes, raise families, go to church, and contribute to society. They are not nameless, faceless threats. They are neighbors, friends, co-workers, human beings. But ICE treats them like fugitives, stripping away dignity and legal protections simply because of their immigration status. The Constitution is supposed to apply to everyone within the US borders, not just to citizens. It promises due process. It promises protection from unreasonable searches and seizures. It promises equal treatment under the law. Yet, in these ICE encounters, we see those promises shattered over and over again. When these actions are documented and made public, ICE officials often remain silent or issue vague statements that deflect responsibility. So, what do? We speak out. We shine a light on every injustice. We stand with the families whose lives are being torn apart and demand better from our government. We educate ourselves and others about our rights. We hold elected officials accountable and push for policies that protect people, not punish them for existing. This is not about politics. This is about humanity, about integrity, about refusing to stand by while people suffer under the very institutions that are supposed to protect them. This issue isn't going to disappear by ignoring it. We need to stay vigilant, keep asking questions, and demand that all law enforcement agencies, especially those with the power to arrest and detain, be held to the highest legal and ethical standards. Because ultimately, the kind of country we live in depends on what we allow and what we refuse to accept. Let us be clear. Immigration status should never determine whether or not you are treated with dignity, fairness, and respect. A badge should never be a license to traumatize, and law enforcement should never be above the law. Let's demand accountability. Let's speak up for due process. Let's make sure the law applies to everyone, including those who wear the badge. If you have experienced something similar or know someone who has, your voice matters. Drop your thoughts, share your story, and let's keep the conversation going, because silence is not an option. And also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, bye-bye.